Hey, welcome to your Scorpio horoscopes for the week of September 10th through September 16th, the week the Mercury retrograde ends. Yay! On Friday. We are going through most of the week with it. Obviously still in Virgo. It has been causing problems everywhere. So it's nice that it is finally starting to and we do have a shadow period, of course, that will take us into next week. But usually, well, actually, I was just about to say the shadow periods are usually not as bad as the retrograde, but sometimes that's not true. So we still have another week or so before things calm down, basically. Focus is on two things for you guys this week as we continue your focus on self, but we are also focused on our inner self. So we're focused on the outer and the inner. And this can be very difficult because we're talking specifically about those things that you guys keep secret, locked inside of yourselves so that nobody knows that they're there. Because Scorpios, man, your internal trauma closets are really, I mean, locked, like, New York City apartment locked up kind of a thing. And it's usually buried pretty deep down inside. Usually, when focus is on this particular spot, your trauma closet, and that this is going to be the focus for the next few weeks for you guys, unfortunately, this brings up a lot of triggers of old stuff that you've kind of sort of buried down deep inside of you in a way. And that stuff will just kind of sort of stay and simmer there for a long time, but eventually it needs to come out because you have to think about this trauma space for what it is. It's a giant molten lava rock sitting in your belly, just singeing through everything as it sits there. And it just can't stay like that forever. When we're young, we don't really feel it as much. We our bodies react to it, but not in the same way. The longer it stays there, the older we get, the more damage it starts to cause, the more problems we start to have with it, the more indigestion we have, the more belly problems that we have, because it's literally just sitting there and burning right through you, slowly burning right through you. So this week, as we move into this space, to these things that trigger these emotional instances that took place in the past start to happen a lot more. And there's two reasons why this happens. One is in order to let you know, hey, I'm still here and I need to be processed. I need to be released. I need the forgiveness. I need whatever it is in order for you to let it go, so to speak. Release it into the wild and let it just sort of dissipate, if that makes sense. The other reason why these triggers have a tendency to come up is to teach us how to deal with that. So a lot of times, and what I see happening a lot with a lot of people is that they've had a trauma, something happens and it's triggered. They go, "You're triggering me. I don't like it when you say that because it's a trigger for me." And they expect the other person to change their behavior because this is a trigger for them. That is absolutely not the case. Okay. Absolutely not the case. Your triggers are your responsibility. You need to be able to learn to deal and live with people who respond in that same way. And if it is triggering you, it means that you haven't dealt with the problem in the first place. So it's really, in a sense, irresponsible to yourself to expect other people to change their behavior because of your trauma. That doesn't work. That's not how that's supposed to go. You're supposed to work through your trauma and separate what's happening now versus what happened then. So let's use this as an example, is in the workplace. If your boss all of a sudden talks to you in a way that triggers a response of being treated in the same way by somebody else, obviously you can't go, "Boss, you can't talk to me that way because it's a trigger for me." Okay. I don't care what's going on in the world right now and how many safe places we have or how much things are changing. that is, pardon me, not going to work for you, right? Your boss is going to be like, I don't care if I'm triggering you or not. This is all about you getting your job done. And he's not going to walk around on eggshells around you. He's going to replace you with somebody who's not going to give him that problem. So what you need to do when the trigger comes up is you need to separate the two. This is now, that was then. And if you can't deal with the trigger in the moment, because obviously if your boss is talking to you, you probably shouldn't be dealing with the trigger in that moment, put it aside. Later on, when you've calmed down, when you're relaxed, when everything is done in the day, bring it back up so that you can understand what about this situation and this situation is similar. The more you do that, the more you work through what you're holding on inside of you, the more you're releasing it. And sometimes it takes working through a big situation a little bit at a time. Because sometimes that's just a lot easier for us to do. I have some really, really, really big things in my trauma closet. And, I work on them in layers, honestly, because sometimes that thing is just too overwhelming for me to tackle the whole thing at once. So I work on it. I work through it in layers so that the thing becomes less huge and much, much, much smaller, if that makes sense. So your triggers are actually trying to help you. They're trying to help you release all that stuff that you're holding on inside of you, all of that anger, all of the frustration towards all of these different people, or all of these different circumstances that you had no control over in some way. This is the control that you have, is choosing not to hang on to it and destroy yourself from the inside out, but to release it, to accept it, to use that to make sure that you are never put in that same position again, from here on out, rather than holding on to it and letting that situation continue to destroy you throughout the years. That is not necessary. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscope, do click the link in the description and send me a copy. I would greatly appreciate that. If you are listening rather than viewing, that is ko-fi.com/heavy metal psychic. Also bounce on over to heavymetalpsychic.com because there's all kinds of cool stuff going on there, including your ability to book time with the Heavy Metal Psychic at any given time. That's what I have for you guys this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, a Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next week. And in the meantime, yes, the release is difficult, but once it's over, it's amazing. Do yourself a favor and try. Just try it just once. You'll see what I mean. You guys have a wonderful week with that.